Join the team.
Hey team, this is McGuire Review, and today we're going to be taking a look at a brand new title that is about ready to hit Kickstarter. It will go live February the 1st, probably right when this video is coming out. And it is a new dungeon crawler. Now, before we get started, everything you see on the table is prototype materials for this. Obviously, this will be productionalized through the Kickstarter if it is funded, which I really hope that it is. And this is a dungeon crawler designed by and for kids. So Cora Hughes, as well as her father Dan Hughes, worked together in equal partnership to design this game. And Cora was doing this during her at-home schooling during the pandemic, which we are still in. And this is what she has come up with. So I think this is a really, really cool idea. I think it's a really cool game, and it actually plays out really, really well. But again, you need to be interested and or purchase this game in the mindset of it is designed by and for kids. This is a kid-level dungeon crawler / adventure game, and I say that because it is scenario-based. It isn't just lay out the tiles and go through the dungeon and try to collect the most loot, and at the end, that's the winner. It's a cooperative game where you'll be playing with 4 characters at any point in time, or you can solo it and play all 4 of those characters. That's up to you. But as you go through that scenario, there'll be tiles in the dungeon that will have A, B, C, and D, different letters on them, and when you get to those tiles, you'll go to a script book, and you'll read and see what happens once you've got to that room, and it's part of the storyline that you'll go through for each one of the scenarios for the game. So I thought that was a really cool design, that it is scenario based, and it makes it a lot of fun. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll do a quick run through of the components here, and then I'll show you kind of how gameplay works. We'll start right here in the front. We've got the different characters. Now there are in the prototype included 6 different characters, and each one of the character boards are the same. They have different attributes and totals. Okay, some really cool kid-based art there on that, and that's one of the things I think make this title really neat is all the artwork. This is all artwork done by kids, which is pretty cool. You got the crossbow dude, the halfling, the wizard woman, the dwarf, the spear woman, and the sword girl. And we'll just go ahead and take a look. Which one should we use here? We'll look at sword. We'll look at sword girl. So each one of these are going to follow the same. It's very simple. You're going to have your life here. You're going to have your movement that you'd be able to do. So she has 8 life and 4 movement. There's going to be a starting weapon. So every character will have a starting weapon that they will have. These cards and the rules in the game are very simple. Again, designed for kids. So for instance, her broadsword, and we'll go ahead and take a look at that real quick. We'll get it out of the starting weapon pile, which is right here. Her broadsword adds 1 combat die and has a range of 1. So it's a melee weapon. Now some of these weapons are going to have more range, and it will just indicate that right here to give a number, and it even will tell you how many spots. So it's very, very simple. And that's the only thing you're going to find on these cards. Just what's the range and what dice do you roll, in addition to your standard die that your character is going to roll. Now in the prototype, all the characters do have 1 single red die that they roll, and then you will add that white die as well if you are going to attack with your broadsword. So you get a red and a white. Now the dice are right here in the game. The white do have less of a hit value. They have 2 of the 6 sides on successes, and the reds are 50-50. They have 3 successes and 3 blanks. So there is going to be a chance every time you roll those dice if you are getting hits or not. And it is a very simple concept. You roll the dice, however many crits you get or hits you get, that's how much damage you do either to the enemy or you take yourself, unless you have some form of an armor item that you can pick up through treasure chests over the course of the game. Now, every character does have a special ability, which you'll find written right on the card. For Sword Girl, it is when attacking, you can re-roll 1 of your dice. So that's nice, you get a re-roll there. And then if any point in time you do on your turn go to attack and you roll no successes, you'll get to flip your card over to the empowered side, and essentially the only difference is you're going to get more combat dice when you go for that next hit. And as soon as you get another success on a hit, you flip it right back. So it's just a mechanic that allows people as they're playing to, if you if you go for an attack and you don't hit, the next time you go for attack, you have a much, much better chance because you'll get more combat dice on that attack. And that's all that is from one side or the other. That's how every one of these characters and cards are going to work. Put Sword Girl's broadsword back there. You will see everybody will have a nice little token stand up. Now these will be different for the production version. This is just the prototype again. And then each one of the enemies is going to have a card like that as well. Very, very similar. You got your health, you got your movement, you got how many dice get rolled when they attack. So this is a third level orc. In this prototype, you do have first level, second level, and third level, and that is indicated by these little bones right here. That's another icon you're going to want to pay attention to, because as you reveal tiles in the dungeon, there'll be little spots on those tiles, and when they're revealed, if you see 2 bones, you put a 2-bone character there, 1 bone, 1, 3, 3, right? And that just indicates the difficulty level of that enemy. The 3 is going to be the most difficult for the prototype, so we're going to have 2 reds that it's going to roll when it attacks. It does have, it looks like an axe, and its range is melee. It only has range of 1, and that's it. It doesn't get like an empowered side. If it misses, both of the sides are identical for the enemies. Every enemy is going to look like that. And then you're going to have bosses that look like this. They are going to follow a very similar look, other than they are generally going to have some form of an ability. So the big snake here, if the snake does damage, give the target a poisoned token. Poisoned heroes take 1 damage at the start of every hero phase. So that will be difference there for these bosses. You'll get a little bit of an ability against you. You've got your health, which is significantly more. Most of these are 1, 2, and 3 health for the 1, 2, and 3 level monsters. This boss is 15. It's got movement of 3. It rolls 3 white dice, and it has range of 2. So a little bit different there for the bosses. You're going to have standees for each one of those enemies. We got the level 3, the level 2, and the level 1s. The level 1s are archers that can basically fire from really long distances, like 8 spots away, but they only have 1 health. So you want to take them out pretty quickly because they can hit you from about anywhere if they have line of sight. And that's the other thing about this game. The only rule set that I would say is a little bit more advanced than just basic roll, move, and attack is you are going to have line of sight and you are going to have cover in this game. And the cover just works from a line of sight perspective. Like, can you actually attack if there's someone in your way? That's as advanced as the rules really get from a movement and fire perspective. And then you are going to have a little standee for your boss, your big snake right here, which is pretty cool, as you try to save Annabelle and Kevin the gnomes in the prototype story that you get, which I thought was pretty funny. All right, here you are going to have your health tokens, both heroes taking damage as well as doing damage against your enemies. You'll track that right on the board with these little health tokens. Very simple. You're going to have special items. These are things that can be acquired over the course of a quest, and they generally are quest-specific items that help you. Like this one, actually, the player that finds it, the poison won't actually affect them. So that's going to be really beneficial for maybe the dwarf that has a lot of melee, high-damage weapons, and then maybe the dwarf finds the antidote, hopefully, or can be given the antidote, and then the dwarf won't take any poison damage. So that can be beneficial. And then the lucky feather is the other item for the prototype. We'll set them there. You are going to have treasure chests. You'll put these little tokens on the tiles if they indicate they have a treasure chest in them. And then once you loot that treasure chest or use a search action, then you'll take the token away and that'll be it. So you can only search each chest once. And they have a number of things that are available. Other items and weapons, like here's a shield. We've got a potion of healing. There's a long sword. So this goes on and on. Here's some leather armor, which is pretty cool. Potion of bravery, a trap. So there are traps in here as well. It isn't all just goodies. You will run into traps as well, and those can be fairly deadly, to tell you the truth. So that's an option when you go to find a treasure chest on one of these tiles. Do you want to just loot every single treasure chest? The odds would say yes, but just know you may run into some problems sometimes. Here is the actual dungeon deck, and this is where the players are going to choose once they get to an edge. that isn't a wall, they can choose to take a free action to pull one of these and set down a new part of the dungeon. And then when you would do that, for example, like here's one that's got 2 level 3 monsters, and then you would just put 2 level 3 monsters, one there and one there, right after you reveal that dungeon. So it's as simple as that. The only thing that you would do back to the script is if you pulled one of these and it had one of those letters on it, every single dungeon tile is marked with a little number in the corner. If it's a numeric value, that's just another part of the dungeon. If it's an alphanumeric value, that's when you would go to the script and you would read what happens once you found that room. Here is a neat little mechanic, the spiders. Now, the giant spiders are going to always be in every single scenario in the dungeon. And dungeon tiles, including the one that you start the game with, will have a tiny little web on them somewhere. Not all of them have this. Some of them do, some of them do not. This right here is what I like to call kind of a burn down chart. And from the beginning of the game, a little spider will start here up on 2. And there's also a token for every single player. So let me explain how the players work first, and then I'll come back to the spider. Remember we talked about every one of these players had a special ability? Well, whenever we use that special ability, you would take that player's token and you'd put it on number 2. At the end of the round, it then would move down, and at the next round, it moved down. Now the special ability is refreshed and you can use it again. So you can think of this as nothing more than a little burn down chart just to ensure that you can't use that special ability every single round. You're going to have to wait a few rounds before you can actually use it again. So there is some thought in, when do I use my special ability? So you're just not, I'll just use it for this simple situation. You may want to hold on to it and use some strategy there to figure out when it's best to use it. That's how that works. Now, with the spiders, whenever it is the hero's round of the game, if in fact the heroes search and they find another area of the dungeon, you'll pick up this little token, and whoever searched will just have the token. At the end of a round, if that little token isn't on top of here, the spider stays right there. If for some reason, over the course of a round, you're battling a lot of monsters and you don't want to actually look anywhere else and reveal any more of the dungeon, that token's still going to be on top of that deck. If that is the case at the end of the round, then your spider token moves down. Once your spider token moves off of this, it will go back to the top, but at that point it will trigger in the game this spider mechanic where you will take these spiders and you will place them in the middle of every dungeon tile that has a cobweb. There are only so many of these, but you will have to put these spiders out. And they are 2 life, they roll a red and a white. So they're not super, super weak by any means, and you can kind of get overrun by these little spiders while you're trying to fight any other enemies and or a boss at the same time that's in the dungeon. So you also have to use some good tactics amongst all your players to ensure that if the spiders do come out, you can take care of them pretty quickly, because they do move very fast. They move up to 5, so they can kind of get to you pretty quickly within this dungeon. So that's how the spiders are going to work, and I did think that was a pretty cool little mechanic that basically forces you to focus on continuing to search and move through the dungeon. You're really going to have to balance where this is, and in some situations, even if there's monsters on the board and you're like, I don't want to look at another dungeon tile because maybe it spawns more monsters, it's probably better than spawning a bunch of these spiders. Or you're going to want to look at the dungeon tiles that have come out so far and see, well, how many of the dungeon tiles have cobwebs, and can I take another 1 or 2 or 3 spiders versus the risk of continuing to search in the dungeon. It's usually worth going ahead and take the risk, because you might get a tile that's got another treasure chest on it, allowing you to be able to pick up better armor and or weapons. So that's how the little giant spiders are going to work as they come out of their webs, if you're not paying attention to that. So very cool mechanic, and I like this little burn down chart as well, how that works. All right, that's all the components and everything in the game. You are going to start the game again. You always have to have 4 players. You're going to just get your card, you're going to get your standee, you're going to put your little token up here at the burn down chart, and you're going to get your 1 starting item that each character starts with. So I have that all ready to go here. You're then going to place each one of your characters in the starting dungeon tile anywhere that you want to. So we'll put the dwarf front and center. We'll put the crossbow, what's crossbow dude? Yeah, crossbow dude there. The wizard woman, we'll put her right there, and we'll put the halfling right up here next to the dwarf as well, because the halfling's power is choose not to take any damage from an attack. So you can get kind of bold with your halfling because of that special ability of being able to just say, okay, I negate the entire attack against me if you get attacked by a monster. So now we can talk really quickly about the phases of the game and the number of actions. We'll start with the number of actions. Each character gets 2 actions when it's their turn. That's either moving or searching or attacking or swapping items. Each one of those require an action, and you can do any one of those a number of times. So you could move twice, attack once, move once, swap items twice. That's all up to you. And swapping an item doesn't mean amongst yourself. Like if you had 2 or 3 different weapons, you could flip those in and out of your backpack to your active hand for free during your turn. But if I wanted to physically say I'm giving the crossbow to the dwarf, that would cost an action. And that's how that works for swapping. Searching is just you have to be on or next to a chest, and you can go ahead and search it like we talked about. You just pick up the token. Now it's open, and you pick your top card off of the chest, off of the chest deck to get your treasure. Moving is as simple as we talked about. We'll move however many spots that are there, or up to that amount of spots. You can't do I'll move 2 and then I'll attack and then I'll move 2. You do have to finalize that action. So that's something to understand, except for when you reveal a dungeon. I could move 1 to get to the wall, reveal a dungeon, and then move the rest of my movement. That's the only where I kind of found in the rules where there was a difference of when a dungeon is revealed, you can still finish your movement. And then attacking is as simple as just rolling the dice, and you just have to be within range and line of sight of that enemy, and you can do your attack. Now for enemies, they all will get 2 actions on their turn as well. They'll move and attack, or they'll attack twice, or they'll move twice. They do take 2 actions. It's the same as the heroes. So you're going to have to be careful with that as well. Be wary of that when you're moving around the dungeon. You may want to think about, well, how far am I from this enemy? And then when it's the enemy's turn, because the AI is very simple. Everybody will just kind of control the monsters, and you'll just go after what makes the most sense. Whichever hero is the closest to them, they'll move until they can get to the closest hero and then attack. So that's how that's going to work. So you don't want to end your movement a lot just standing right next to an enemy, because they're just going to attack twice every time if they're within melee range. There is no attacks of opportunity, so if you're next to one and you want to move away, that's perfectly fine. There are no attacks of opportunity in this game, so just think of it, it's more about the tactical movement of your characters turn to turn. Okay, that's how you're going to do all your actions. As far as phases, all the heroes are going to go in any order that you choose. Again, you have to finish your whole turn before someone else can go, or your 2 actions. But you can take your turns in any order that you want. Once all the heroes have done their turn, then the game board will get its turn. That's basically the enemies that are positioned on the board will then move, do their attacks, and then you will end with kind of a refresh phase where you'll turn all of your... Once you take your turn, you'll kind of flick your card to the side to indicate and remember, oh, I've already gone. So everybody will refresh their cards. You'll go to your burn down chart, and if any of the player tokens are up here, you'll move those down. You will then obviously check your deck, your dungeon deck, to ensure that your token is either on there or has been taken off. Depending on that, you will then modify where your spider token is. And that's everything that you're going to do within all those phases of the game. The game will end once you have achieved the outcome or the result of whatever the scenario is, and you'll learn that as you're kind of going through the storyline. Or you will automatically lose, especially for the first one that was included, and that may be different. We'll see. You will lose if 2 of the 4 characters have been beat up too much where they cannot go on any further. And that will just be once they equal or exceed their health value there. And then they'll be kind of taken out. So that is how CoraQuest works. It is as simple as that. We will play 1 quick round just to show those mechanics playing out. I'm gonna clean up these here, and we'll put them right back there. So we're gonna go ahead and go. The dwarf is gonna go first, and we're gonna take a free action and go ahead and reveal the dungeon. So we'll pick up that token. Now I don't have to worry about that spider moving down. We'll flip this over. All right, you do have to put these right together like that. Now there are walls here, but that's okay because there's a way to get through here. But that wall will block some line of sight. So it's got 2 level 3s. Ugh, not a good place to start off. So put 2 level 3s right here. And I just like to set these cards up next to the game board so you can see. Maybe you'll take the boss and kind of put it out, but just set these up next to the game board so it's easy to see what they are. Okay, now I can move and attack, and I'm going to have to do that because he's carrying an axe, which is melee, so I have no ranged ability because of the tile that came out here. I'm going to move right in, and you know what? Because it starts off with 2 3s, I'm going to use the dwarf's special ability, and I'm going to put that right up on 2, and the special ability is can move and attack for just 1 action. So for 1 action, I'm going to do 1, 2. I'm going to stop right here, and I want to stop here because I'm in range of both of these. So I'm now going to take attack. I get a red, and I get my axe is a white. So a red and a white. So that's all 1 action, that move and that attack. I got 1 damage against it. So I'll put that there. It has 3 health. And then now I'll take my second attack for my second action, and I got 1 more damage. So I wasn't able to kill it, but it's almost dead because it only has 3 health, and I've just done 2 damage. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into, let's see here. Wizard Woman also has a melee attack. Halfling, I'm going to have to, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go 1, and I can draw a line from here to here, so I can actually see and hit this. I can hit this guy right here. So I'm going to stand there, and I'm going to do an attack. So that was my action. I'm going to stay back a little bit, and now I'm going to attack. Halfling gets a red and a white as well. And see, I can't get. I don't think I can get this guy. You know what? I can hit this guy from standing here. I'm going to hit this guy. Try to finish him off. Come on. All right, there it is. That's the last damage. He's now gone, and I've taken that out, but that's that turn, so let's make sure we're doing this right. This is kick to the side. This is kick to the side. Now what we can do is I got these 2 characters still to take a turn, so I'm going to move up. This character can move 4. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to turn. I don't have to turn, but thematically I'm turning. And I'll take a shot with my crossbow that, again, is a red and a white. And I would only have 1 more action left, so that would just be my attack. And that's a hit as well on this. And then she can move 4, so we'll go 1, 2, 3. And we'll take a melee attack with that wand. Come on. Nope, that's a total miss. So this one is still standing. And now all the heroes have done their turn. So now we're going to go into the boards or the enemies phase. There is only 1 enemy left. That enemy is within range of both of these characters. When that happens, I then can choose which character, the players can choose which character it's going to attack. I'm going to have it attack the dwarf because the dwarf has 10 health and the wizard woman has 8. So we got a little bit more health here. So let's take it against there. We're going to look at the card. It does 2 red damage. It's a beefier one. So we're going to take this, and it does get 2 attacks because it doesn't need to move. So the first attack against me, 2 damage. Second attack against me, 1 damage. Wow, big damage. All right, so the dwarf just took 3 damage right out of the gate towards its character. Not so good. We're going to have to probably search some chests, and hopefully we can come about a healing potion. Now we're going to get to that final phase of the game, the refresh. So I'm going to go to my board here. Well, I'm going to look this first. Okay, now I got this token, so I'm going to put the token back. I don't have to move the spider. I am going to move this one down to 1 because I use the special ability. So the next round it'll move down, and then the round after that, boom, I'll be ready to use my special ability again. Okay, everything else is good to go. Now we're going to flip these back up to start our new round. And now we can start our new round. Upon this next round, obviously the characters are going to fight and take this enemy out, and then probably someone or maybe two of the characters may use free actions at that point, as long as they're on one of these edges that isn't a wall, to go ahead and continue to search the dungeon. So if we were to do that, well, look at here, this next dungeon tile, let's say we searched actually this way. You could go off of this side. Well, that would spawn 2 more number 1s, but we'd also get a chest that we'd be able to have on that one. And we just keep going on with the game like this until we got through all of our lettered dungeon tiles that revealed the rest of the script. So I'll look here at the script just to give you a feel here. There's a little prologue that you'll read when you start this off. So Wizard Pebble Dash calls you over. He looks very worried. My gnome assistants Kevin and Annabelle went into Hood's dungeon to look for a new pet, he tells you, but it's nearly bedtime and they are still not home. They aren't very good assistants, he says, and they never clean my spoon collection properly. But I'm quite fond of them, really, and I'd hate for them to be in any danger. Could you find them for me? I'll give you a bag of gold each if you do. You decide that you will help Wizard Pebble Dash and find Kevin and Annabelle. After all, how much trouble could a couple of gnomes have gotten themselves into? So you'll see that the stories and the the scripts that you're going to go through, they're very kid-friendly. They're funny. There's a good amount of humor in them. In one of our playthroughs, we weren't able to save Kevin the gnome. Kevin the gnome ended up staying with the giant snake. We weren't able to save Kevin. So it's not one of these things where you're just going to win easily every time. There's obviously situations where you're going to lose, and you do have to make sure that you're managing the amount of enemies on the board, you're managing the spiders that are on the board, because when the boss comes out, it isn't like, okay, we can rest up and then the next room is the boss. The boss is going to come out randomly. It's going to be near the end of the deck, but the boss will come out kind of unknown to you near the end of the deck. So when you start working through that deck, you're going to have to get really tight on managing what's on the board, because all of a sudden you'll just get overrun with enemies that are there, plus spiders, plus a boss. Because when you're fighting this boss, you're not worrying on searching the dungeon anymore. So spiders can come out because round to round you're not searching the dungeon, unless you say, okay, somebody go open up another area of the dungeon so spiders don't come out depending on where they are. So that's something you're going to have to manage as well as you're playing the game. And then each one of the letters, cards, or dungeon tiles that come out, you'll read a little section of the script and it'll tell you exactly what's happened. So when Clue Dungeon Card A would have come out, you find an abandoned gnome-sized backpack on the floor. You recognize it as belonging to Annabelle. In the backpack there are 3 books: A Spotter's Guide to Vipers by Sir Pent, Reptile Keeping for Fun and Profit by William Snakespeare, and Cobra Catching by David Hisselhoff. There is also a bottle of liquid labeled in case of snake bites. And then it says the hero who uncovered the dungeon card takes the antidote card from the special item deck. They do not need to be standing on the dungeon card to take the antidote card. So you can see there the humor that's built into it. I thought that David Hisselhoff thing was actually pretty funny. That was witty. And then there are some customized rules as well. They have added some sandbox type things where if you want to create your own heroes, you can do that. There's a rule set for it. If you want to create your own monsters, if you want to create your own dungeon tiles, it's really cool. You can take any component of this game and sort of create your own of it, which I thought was pretty neat. And they're even going to have apps to help do that kind of stuff, where you can upload your art and it kind of puts it on the card and then you can print it out. It's really cool, and I think that's a good idea, when you are playing this with kids and kids really like this game and they want to sort of make it their own. They can easily do that in the way that it's been designed. Okay, so that is CoraQuest. Again, if you want to check it out on Kickstarter, I thought it was really well designed for a kid adventure dungeon crawler. It's probably one of the best that I've seen that fit into this type of genre and gaming style. I had a good time with it. My kids had a good time with it. So if you do have kids and you're looking to get them into playing some dungeon crawlers and little adventure games, this is probably a good one to start. Check out CoraQuest now. So hit that like, click the subscribe button to join the team. Keep rolling them crits. This has been the McGuire Review, and we'll see you next time.